How do you do? Jen and Cam feel it would be unkind to present this program without a friendly word of warning. We are about to unfold our true crime podcast, a podcast of lifelong friends who seek to examine crimes which were committed without reckoning upon God. The discussion will be frank, and the subject matter will be of a grim and violent nature. I think it will thrill you. It might even horrify you. So, if there are young children listening, or if you feel unwilling to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Cam, how are you?
Welcome back. That's all I gotta say about that.
I know. Happy 2022.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I gotta say about that. Hopefully it's gonna get a little better, right?
It's okay. We're, what is it? Today's Monday. We normally record
Today
on
is
Sunday.
Monday the 10th,
It's the 10th.
I do believe. Yeah.
Yesterday we found out poor Bob Saget passed away. We haven't found out of what yet.
I saw today that it was not drugs and
no foul play. So he's at the ripe age for a heart attack and stroke, which is sad because 65 is so young. And the closer I get to 65, the younger it is.
That's what I said to my students today. I was like, it's so funny. The older I get, I'm like, oh, that's not that old.
I know. So anyway, let's save all our gab for after your fantastic episode. Why don't you hit us with what you got?
You ready?
First episode of 2022.
Today we are headed over to Brighton Township, Ohio. It is October 20th, 2007, when a woman calls 911. She is hysterical and crying, barely able to get out the words. She relays to the operator that when she got to her parents' house, she found her mother shot, her father shot, and her brother home and unharmed. Police rushed to the scene, but as they are heading to the home, 16-year-old Daniel jumps in his parents' car and takes off. Soon, a chase erupts, but Daniel loses control of the vehicle and officers are able to contain him. Daniel tells officers that his father shot his mother and then turned the gun on himself. Daniel is crying and is put into the back of the patrol car until officers can figure out what happened. With confusion and adrenaline, no one knows what just occurred, but someone is responsible, and that person is the one no one would suspect. When officers secure the scene at the home that Mark and Susan Petric shared with their teenage son, they are met with a grisly scene. Blood puddles on the floor with spent bullet casings all over the place. As investigators are working at the house, Danny is taken into the station for questioning. It's not very long before officers begin getting a weird feeling that Danny, especially from some of the statements he initially made in the back of the patrol car, such as asking if his dad died, followed up by, how long is this going to take? Before they got a sort of sinking feeling, if you will. Once at the station, Danny is asked to start at the beginning and tell them exactly what happened. Danny said that his sister Heidi, along with her husband, were coming over as they had made plans as a family to watch the ball game that night. They were all going to enjoy the night, have some snacks, all that good stuff. When she arrived, she could tell something was wrong. Daniel told her that his parents were arguing and not to come inside. He didn't want her to see that. When Heidi heard noises that sounded very much like moaning, she pushed her way in. Once she was inside, the shock made her scream. As she was calling 911, Daniel ran. Daniel states that he had called a friend earlier and had told his friend that his father had just shot his mother and then himself. It was a murder-suicide. And he called his friend. The friend was in shock, of course. And the friend was like, well, come over. I'll help you out. Well, that's not exactly what you do when your parents are shot, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So police hightailed it over there, and then they started chasing him, of course. Once they catch up to him, initially it was roadblocks and things like that. He lost control of the car, so they did catch up to him, and he gets out of the car, and he immediately screams, "My dad shot my mom. My dad shot my mom." And he didn't have any blood or anything on him, but it was just a little odd for them. So once the police caught up with Daniel at his friend's house, that's where he was escaping to, or he had called his friend and had told his friend that his dad had just shot his mom. Daniel was freaking out. His friend, and I know the friend's name, but I'm not going to say it. And his friend says, "Go ahead and come over here." The police chase after him. Heidi, the sister, is freaking out. So they catch up with him. The minute they get him out of the vehicle, he starts announcing, "My dad shot my mom. My dad shot my mom." He also said some other weird things in the back of the car, but we'll get to that. So they take Daniel into the station, and officers at first, they have no reason to believe this is not a murder-suicide. Officers ask Danny a couple questions, and one of the things that they ask him is, "The gun was in your father's hand. You didn't touch the gun. No one else touched the gun." And Daniel says, "Oh, actually, yeah, I did, because I moved it because I could hear my dad had not yet died." Oh. And Daniel says he did that to prevent any further harm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm bad at math, but this is not adding up.
It is becoming clear to officers what happened, but they were not sure about why. 43-year-old Susan was shot in the head and her forearms, as well as her chest. And 45-year-old Mark was shot in the head. Mark was rushed to the hospital with the hope he would survive. Daniel Danny Petric was born on August 24th, 1991, in Wellington, Ohio. By all accounts, the family would say he was a happy kid. Mark Petric was a Pentecostal minister at the New Life Assembly of God, while mother, Susan, stayed at home. Now, Danny was an average student and seemed to get along with all of his friends and enjoyed being social and active in his church and school. Things changed when Danny contracted a staph infection from an injury. This did great damage to his spine, and for a year he would remain at home unable to do much. Now, this would be life-changing for a teenager. Well, actually be life-changing for anyone if you're pretty much stuck at home, but especially a young person. To help him cope with the boredom and loneliness, a friend of Danny's introduced him to video games and soon the Halo series, and that became his go-to game. See where I'm going here?
Halo. Mm-hmm.
Daniel loved the game so much, he bought his own copy, and Daniel soon began playing the game a lot, as in often. General play soon turned into an activity that occurred a lot, as in, way too much. And by too much, we're talking 8 hours plus a day. Father Mark knew that this was not normal, and he was not happy at all about this. And, as a Pentecostal minister and homeschooled kids, which they were, all these things, he just didn't like it. So he told Daniel, "Hey, we're done. You need to stop." Mark took the game away and placed it in a locked safe, which also happened to be where Mark kept his gun. Daniel was furious and wanted his game back. So finally, Mark put his foot down and told the young man, "Either you ease up on the gameplay or you need to move out." Daniel was like, "Okay." Now, mind you, he's 16. He went to go stay with a friend for a little bit. And these 8-hour days of playing games ended up turning into 15 to 20 hours a day of playing. The only time he would not play would be to grab a bite to eat or go to the restroom. Daniel was adamant that he wanted his game back. And after searching, he finally found the keys that held his game, as well as the firearm. Here's where we hear exactly what happened. Police said that after Daniel got home, he took the firearm and went into the living room, where his father and mother were seated and getting ready to watch the ball game and wait for their daughter and son-in-law to come over. Daniel would tell police that when he entered the living room, he asked his parents, quote, "Would you close your eyes? I have a surprise for you." Daniel then shot his mother 3 times and turned to shoot his father once in the head. Daniel took the gun and placed it in his father's hands to stage the crime as a murder-suicide. Daniel thought that he had more time because his sister was not scheduled to arrive to the home until 9 o'clock. And that would be 2 hours later. Once his sister got past Daniel, He ran to the family vehicle and took off. Police chased him and caught him. His copy of Halo 3, that was his game of choice, was on the passenger seat. And this is when he was shouting his father had killed his mother. The trial would begin for Daniel on December 16, 2008. Daniel would decline a jury trial and would instead let Judge James Berge decide his fate. Defense lawyer James Kersey stated that Daniel was just a normal 16-year-old kid who became obsessed with the Halo video game series. He would claim that Daniel never planned the event, but instead just snapped one day and committed the crime. No experts were brought in to testify about the addictive or desensitizing effects of video games. And we're not going to argue this. I'm just stating the facts. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution was not as kind. Assistant County Prosecutor Anthony Chilo, and that is spelled Cillo, hope I said it right, said that Daniel was a cold, calculating killer who admitted planning to kill his parents and make it appear to be a murder-suicide. The attorney stated that Daniel had been examined by juvenile psychologist Stephen Newhouse. In the report, it was revealed that Daniel had planned the murders for a week prior to the actual murder, an attempted murder. The lawyer claimed that the sister messed up Daniel's plan by arriving too early, 2 hours to be exact, as he wanted her to find the bodies. That was his plan, according to them. Several friends and family arrived to support Daniel and testify on his behalf, namely Daniel's father, who had survived. Mark stated that Daniel didn't really understand what he did and how it was so bad, as in final, meaning like he believed that Daniel didn't really understand that killing his mom and dad would be gone forever. Mark said Daniel was remorseful and would repeatedly say how much he missed his mom. Members of his church were also there to support Daniel, and it was with their arrival that his demeanor seemed to lighten a little bit. Daniel's sister testified that his brother became addicted to video games when he was housebound. Daniel was convicted of aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, and tampering with evidence. Since Daniel was so young, at the time he was 17, by the time the trial came around, he could not be given the death penalty. Daniel was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 23 years, which was the minimum sentence. Daniel is currently being held at the Grafton Correctional Institution. He is eligible for parole on November 2nd, 2030. That's the end of the case, but I have some more facts here, but I thought maybe we'd discuss it a little bit.
Okay.
If you go and look at his, poor thing, they brought him into the station, and it was almost like he was clueless. So he looks up at the camera, and he says, "Is that a camera? Is that a camera?" Which, like, your parents were... At this point, he doesn't even know if his dad's dead, right? He knows his mom is dead. And he kept asking, did his dad die? Has his dad died? And then another time he asked one of the officers in there, you think the Indians are going to win the game? You think they got the series? What do you think? It was just so awkward.
So maybe he was sounds like he was very immature.
I think he was immature, but I think
mentally?
maybe it just, but I think it also affected his brain.
You
I
think the staph infection might have?
I do.
In fact,
he did not behave like a 16-year-old that did that. I don't know. It was just, again, in the back of the patrol car asking, so do you know how long this is going to take? Just odd.
Huh. I wonder, I can't believe they tried to bring up the violent video games. Maybe that's
here we go. I'm glad you brought that up because this is, I was thinking about that and I was like, is it? Who's to say what triggers somebody to go off the deep end? So I looked that up, Jen, and I found these murder cases that had some sort of blame on video games. And I did not want to include that because I was like, well, I don't know if that's really, I felt weird doing that. So instead, I did this. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
According to OmegaRecovery.org, video game addiction is compulsive or uncontrolled use of video games and negatively affects other areas of a person's life. It is considered a form of tech addiction, computer addiction, or internet addiction. Addictive video games have become more commonplace and often target children and young adults. There have been a few horrible deaths that have ties to video games. Who knew? Not I. Now, might I say, when something becomes addictive, it's not good. I think we can all agree on that, can we not?
Sure. Yeah. If it consumes all your time and that's all. Yeah. I would say it's not a healthy thing.
So like I said earlier, I at first was looking into murder cases that had to do with video game addiction. And I just didn't really feel comfortable because the Columbine thing came up and other things. But instead I found this, which is, it's kind of on the flip side. So what I did find interesting, that were cases that involved a death or more over video gaming. And this is just kind of weird stuff.
What do you mean by video gaming?
Video gaming. It's very broad. It's very general.
Okay.
Stay with me. You ready? And you'll get it. First up, we have a little fella by the name of Chris Staniforth. And he died during a lengthy gaming marathon session in 2011. Chris died of deep vein thrombosis, better known as a blood clot, after playing the Xbox for as much as 12 hours a day. A blood clot formed and went straight to his lungs, killing him. And I think that's not unreasonable.
Well, that's because he wasn't getting up and moving around. That's the only reason for that. Yeah.
So next up, we have competitive gaming gone wrong. 14-year-old Vasila Turda from the Ukraine invited his friend over to play some video games. When the friendly game playing turned sour, his friend would pay the ultimate price. 15-year-old friend Vasa, same first name, Vasa Pop, tried to escape a brutal fight, making it all the way to the entryway of the home. His neck was almost decapitated after being severely stabbed 27 times by his friend. The youngster was sentenced to 3.5 years by a Ukrainian court. Basically, he was mad because his friend was winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
Is this stupid? This is all...
No.
It was short. It was short.
To me, it all sounds like it's all emotional...
Emotional growth, like being immature.
It has to do with emotional maturity. Mm-hmm. They're not capable of realizing... They're playing these video games where death isn't really real. These characters come to life all the time. They kill. The character is rejuvenated or whatever it's called, reanimated, whatever.
And that's exactly what Mark Petric said about his son Daniel, that he didn't get that. And he still didn't get that, like, he could take out his parents.
I think at 16, you would think you would. Death
you would think you would.
That's why I think he was extremely emotional.
He
immature.
Definitely had some health issues, too. I just, if you watch that thing, he's just with the police officers and talking to him.
There's a video?
Yeah. Like I said, he said, so did you guys watch the game? Who do you think's going to win? And this is in the middle of him being, interrogated. The guy's like, I don't know. And Daniel's like, you don't watch baseball? He's like, not anymore. And it was kind of like, you got that vibe that it was like, oh, no.
Yeah. To blame it completely on video games is asinine, I feel. But Well,
I got some more stories.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay.
In a I wonder what that feels like kind of thing, 15-year-old Alexei Maximov was obsessed with killing in his favorite video game. The online playing went from fun to murder when the boy wanted to know what it was like to actually murder someone. The young man approached a woman using an ATM machine and began to stab her. She would suffer 12 stab wounds in her eyes, neck, and chest. When she collapsed, he fled the scene. When police located him, he was found back at home and, guess what, playing a video game called Battlegrounds. He didn't deny his crime, instead telling officers, I have always wanted to see when a person dies by your own hand. A voice inside me told me it had to be done. These are cases from around the world.
Right. And how old was he?
14, right?
Okay.
15. And from the desk, this is the doozy, let me tell you. From the desk of Can't Get Over It, and these guys are way too old to be doing this. In December 2017, 2 Call of Duty World War II gamers by the name of Casey Viner, who went by Vaporizer, and Shane Gaskill, were going head-to-head in an online tournament with huge wagers online for both of them. This was a big tournament with the old Call of Duty. And by huge, Jen, I mean they each put in $150. No, not $150. $1.50. And this is, yeah. The two gamers took their beef to Twitter, dogging each other back and forth. It came to head when Viner threatened to SWAT Gaskill, and it went south from there. If you're not familiar with swatting, you know what that is, right, Jen?
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what that is. Mm-hmm.
Swatting is defined as the action or practice of making a prank call to emergency services in an attempt to bring about the dispatch of a large number of armed police officers to a particular address.
Like I would call and say, hey, Cam is threatening to kill everybody in her neighborhood. She's got a loaded gun in her house and she's waving it around, which would cause multiple police officers to come with their guns ready to come.
Which is a highly violent situation. Volatile situation.
Words are hard, aren't they?
It's been so many weeks, Jen. I'm not even used to this. And my knee hurts. I got some Tylenol in me. Oh, my God. Okay.
Yes, it's horrible. It's horrible, and it happens a lot.
Well, it's about to get worse, Jen. Gaskill proceeded to give a fake address. Not backing down, Viner contacted a friend, Tyler Barris, who proceeded to carry out the squat as a prank. SWAT officers descended upon the fake address where an innocent man was shot in the heart and died at the scene. The man did not know the three men involved. A federal judge sentenced Tyler to 20 years in prison because he was aimed at drawing attention to the deadly practice of swatting, and he was not having it. There you go. Do people still do that? I don't even know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trust me, there's drama on some TikTokers that I follow, and two of them have been swatted by the same person.
That's terrible.
It's the same person that has been suspected of calling a bomb threat into the courthouse that he's going up for trial.
Could you imagine sitting in your house on like the SWAT team?
One is a woman and answered the door with her little girl. Like she was carrying her little girl. Oh, it's horrible.
Not funny and a waste of money.
Taxpayers' monies. Exactly. And the police could have been needed elsewhere. It's horrible.
In 2018, a live-streamed mass shooting occurred that famously shook the gaming world during the popular yearly event of Madden Football. Like, that's not even violent. This non-violent game was shock. I mean, honestly, it did shock everybody because it's football, for goodness sakes. David Katz, age 24, had been playing in a series of tournaments, and then he lost a bunch of these games on the American football video game. This left him unable to attend the finals in Las Vegas. I read this like it's so bad, and it's not. I just can't even. He refused to shake any of the players' hands, and he was furious. So he left. People would say he was acting weird all weekend as he was losing the competition. Eventually, after he left, he came back, and he stepped into the venue with a pistol and opened fire in anger. People were being trampled as they were trying to escape. The scene would end up with 2 people dying and 9 others injured.
Well, all in all, it sounds to me that it was not the video game's fault.
I think
there's personal responsibility involved.
And that's the thing. You know, anything too much is not good. And I think maybe with Daniel, he got lost. I'm not justifying anything, but I'm saying maybe he got lost on stuff and he didn't quite realize. I would think, though, especially when even if you play a video game and you're killing people, they're down. Like you won, they're down. So couldn't you equate that to you're killing your parents and they're down and they're gone?
There's some kind of something there that's not right.
That is the case. And I don't know. Yeah.
It's a shame. The fact that the only thing he took was the damn copy of the game speaks volume too. Like he fled the house and he took the video game.
He was just mad. He was mad because he wanted that. And, I'm sure his family was super strict. as a
there's no
Pentecostal
doubt.
pastor father.
Yeah, he'll be 39 years old when he gets out. He's 30 now. Yeah. You can't put the blame on something when there's not enough blame on yourself. It could be maybe lead you to things, but it still comes down to personal responsibility.
Yep.
And it could have, this kid was young. He was very impressionable by the sound of it. Maybe the staph infection did have something to do with his mental state. Maybe he was emotionally and immature and he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
But it isn't 100%.
I agree, Jen. I
on
agree.
the video.
Like, your husband's a gamer.
Oh,
My
yeah.
kid's a gamer. Like, I get it. I get it.
What did you do over Christmas, Cam?
What did I do? My sister from Seattle was here. She was here for 3 weeks. 3
Nice.
long weeks. 3 long weeks. Not only because
And you're all in your mom's house.
that. Yep, we're all living at my mother's house because
But good news. But good
Good
news.
news.
What's the good news for you?
I bought a house,
Woo!
so I'm moving. But that might interfere with some stuff.
That means Cam is moving next weekend. We're not for sure if we're going to be able to record next weekend. So we may or may not have an episode out next week.
Jen, I don't have a closet. I don't know what closet I'm going to be in. I'm not
know.
kidding. I was like,
Well-
ooh, what closet? There is a big closet on the 2nd floor.
You mean
No
for
window.
recording purposes? You don't
Yes.
have a recording studio, is
I don't
what you're
have
saying.
I don't have a closet to record. / recording,
A recording studio.
There you
Mhm.
go. There you go.
It makes you
Uh-huh.
sound better if you have a recording
I mean, a
studio.
recording closet.
Yeah,
Re-
studio.
Recording
Studio.
closet studio. There
Yes.
you
Mhm.
go. Yep.
A recording studio.
Yep. I don't have that.
We'll figure it out. You will.
So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, good. My vacation was
I
absolutely
can't wait to
fantastic.
hear. How was it?
Yes, on the 22nd, I had gallbladder surgery and there were complications. So after I got out of that surgery, I had to go in for another procedure where they cleaned out my bile ducts because they were full of sludge and my bile ducts were dilated. So they had to stick stents in everywhere and also told me that I was lucky I did the surgery when I did because they were swollen. My gallbladder was swollen and about to burst. So that was fun. Spent Christmas. I don't really even remember Christmas because of the painkillers.
I would love to have Christmas on painkillers.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah,
Just
here I
get
am.
it.
I'm like, oh,
you
it's
gotta know my family.
gallbladder surgery. It's not going to be gallbladder surgery. I'll be able to go. This was on the 22nd. I was thinking
I
I'd
told
spend family.
you. I was like,
I'm-
I
no,
don't think so.
he said, oh, it's so easy. We do it many times a day. It's so easy. So I was thinking, no problem. I'll be able to go to, Christmas Eve with my family. No, I pretty much stayed on my recliner for 2 weeks. And I'm just
Well,
now getting
I was
to
just
where
gonna say you're still
I-
on there, girl. But
I'm having problems with a couple incisions, pain, but well, I shouldn't say pain, I should say discomfort because I went to the doctor today and he's like, now is it pain or is it discomfort? And I'm like, yeah, actually you're right. It's more of a discomfort. The discomfort is it's hard for me to sit up for more than 2 hours. So he's just like, well, do this. It hurts for 2 hours. When it starts to hurt, keep hurting. See how long you could do it. And then just kind of like exercising, you kind of work your way up. So that's the plan. That's what we're doing.
wow.
Other than
No
that,
thanks.
Other than that, everything is hunky dory. I am healthy. I go back on the 19th to get the stents taken out, which will be very joyous because those aren't fun.
We had a very interesting holiday.
Yeah,
But
it was
more
fun.
so you than I. So yeah.
Well, you actually got to do stuff. I was stuck in a chair.
That's what I'm saying. Like some of us were givers. That'd be you because you gave your gallbladder away. Yeah, and some of us were.
Well, it was kind of
takers.
funny because when I went to the doctor's appointment today, he's telling me some of my incisions are still red and I need to wear my pants either higher or lower because they're like right. I have 4
I know.
holes in my
And
belly.
that cracked
right?
me up because I was like, "Oh God, we're old."
Well,
we're old.
I can't wear like jeans or anything because they're too tight because of the incision hurts. So I've been wearing sweatpants, fat pants. And then I'm like, yeah, I was amazed how much it hurt. And he goes, honey, you were stabbed 4 times. He goes, it's like being stabbed. You were stabbed. I'm like,
You really were.
But otherwise, I mean, Apple sends you every Sunday for me, but they send you screen time. Your screen time was down 14%. My screen time was up like 35%.
Oh, see, I think
Just
it'd be down because you were like in bed.
No, I couldn't get in bed. I couldn't lay down flat. I stayed in the recliner for 2.5 weeks, but like I couldn't concentrate. on watching TV, so I just watch TikToks. Like a 13-year-old.
2 minutes in, 2 minutes in, 2 minutes out. 2 minutes in, 2 minutes out. I got
Good
you.
times.
I got you.
But yeah, other than that, the Christmas holiday was fantastic, and I'm happy my husband's back to work, and I'm thankful my kids are back at school for now. So
don't say for now. It's all good. All good.
All good. So anyway, I hope everybody, all of our listeners had a great holiday.
That's what I was just going to say. I hope everybody had a fantabulous holiday. Enjoyed a little quiet family time. Do you want to tell the listeners about the dream you had last night? Because
I was early this morning and I didn't get to figure out what happened because my alarm went off. But I dreamt that my husband came and he came to me and he goes, "Hey, I have these gifts for you. They're from Justin Bieber."
Traitor.
And I'm like, "Oh my God." And one looked like it was a book. And I'm like, oh, he gets me. Justin gets me. And the other one was something like in a bag, so I couldn't tell what it was. And then...
No, I love him so much.
You got really mad at me because Justin Bieber gave me Christmas present. But you were mad at me. My alarm went off, so I have no idea what he got me, but I'm sure it was fabulous.
Doesn't matter.
So,
still mad at you.
He's a giver.
Hashtag hate you.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, we did miss you guys. Miss you tons.
I told Jen, I said, I'm ready to get back to like a
recording and a schedule. And we did. We missed being with you guys. So we love you tons.
I just need a new, it's still the same old Cam, just in a new closet. I just thought of that. That's funny. Until next time, remember, lock your doors.
And keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Vane. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production. With confusion and adrenaline. Oh my God. See this? If this is what happens when you take 6 weeks off. I don't even have a water in here. Darn it. However, things changed when Danny contracted staph from an injury. This did great damage to his spine, and for a year he would remain at home, unable to do much.
You mean a staph infection, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
It was a big, long word, Jen, so it was staphylococcus, and I don't want to say it. So
Staphylococcus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a staph infection. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.